And welcome to the Technology Geek podcast. I am your host, Brandon Lepani, the Technology Geek, and we are here as we are every week to talk computers, the internet, security, all that jazz. And you follow me on my Twitter at LepaniTech, as well as our website, thetechnologygeek.org, and as well as on other forms of media, Facebook, Google+, all that. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to our wonderful sponsors at proxp.com, the wonderful VPN solution. They're sponsoring our podcast now, and that's proxpn.com/podcast, and enter our coupon code TechGeek, TECGEK, and that's proxpn.com/podcast, and the coupon code TechGeek, as well as our wonderful other affiliate, Audible. Audible, get a free 30-day trial of Audible books. Wonderful. I love audiobooks. Listen to them when you're at the gym, on the go. Pretty much anything. It's just like listening to this podcast. It's just really wonderful. Myself, I'm on. What am I listening to right now? I've just finished up one of Jesse Ventura's books, and now I'm working on another book. So they're a wonderful sponsor. Very glad to have them. That's audibletrial.com/techgeek, and you get a free 30-day trial and one download from them, and we're very lucky to have them as a sponsor, and as well as our new sponsor, Dollar Shave Club. You can join today, get a free trial of Dollar Shave Club, and go to our website, thetechnologygeek.org, and click on Join Dollar Shave Club today, and you get a free special that they're offering you, and get $6 a month. You get 4 blades a month, and cheaper than going to the CVS or Rite Aid or any of those local places and getting blades. Send them right to your doorstep. Really wonderful, actually good blades. I actually use them myself. They're actually a sponsor that I actually reached out to, and they're a really wonderful sponsor, and we're glad to have them. And that's, again, thetechnologygeek.org, and you'll see the link on the right-hand side right there. And they're really wonderful sponsor. We're glad to have them. A lot of stuff going on in the world of tech, of course, this week. And of course, one of the things I wanted to talk about, of course, is the Chromecast. We're still talking about them. Obviously, they're really an interesting product. Still sold out, by the way. I'm just checking right now on the internet, and they're still sold out. But they're definitely a product that is definitely going to change the industry. You can stream anything in the Chrome browser, whether it be on your phone or whether it be, through the Chrome tab on your computer. And it really is a wonderful really wonderful thing to have, and I really think this could change the industry a lot. And a lot of people are saying, well, they don't want to use it because then Google knows what you're watching on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, and it's right. It is true. It is a way for them collecting data, but so is Google Fiber when you really think about it. Google Fiber allows them to watch everything that goes, at all happens on your bandwidth, and look at Comcast or any of them. They're watching all your bandwidth. So I think it really is. Just a I think a paranoia sets in at some points, but in my opinion, I really care if they see what I watch on Netflix. Do I really care if they see me watch on HBO Go? So it really is, one of those things where it really depends on really how you feel about it. But I use an Android phone to say, well, they're watching everything you do, but who knows what Apple's looking at and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm one of those people. I don't really care if they know what I'm watching. So, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a game changer. I know HBO Go has already jumped on board with the Chromecast, and I'm trying to think who else has jumped on board. I think there was also, I think there's somebody else that jumped on board too. And I know the first 1 million that were sold, the people are going to get 3 months of Netflix free. But I think that was a good thing by Netflix to do to try to get more subscribers. And since we are talking about Netflix, I know, by the way, they actually are offering, I saw advertisements the other day before the show, that they actually are going to go ahead and do the family program that's actually out there right now. And also, too, we're talking about Netflix, obviously. They're receiving, of course, 14 Emmy nominations for House of Cards and Arrested Development. So, Netflix possibly could be the next, possibly the next HBO. So, they're really, a company that's really, they had their problems there with Quickster, but they readjusted the way they're doing business, and they, they're definitely changing the way they do business, and they're bouncing back better than ever. So good for them, and they are a wonderful company with a good vision. There was just an article the other day talking about how, Netflix and Google account for 50% of most internet traffic. And that really, when you think about it, really is amazing that you can think that those two companies alone account for half of the internet traffic. So that really is quite impressive, and it just shows you the power of their media. So it's really, really amazing. So some other, a lot of other things going on here too in the world of tech. Obviously, when you start talking, really, I think some of the things that they were saying, a couple of things that came through as far as talking about Apple and Android. Obviously, a couple of things come up talking about, people don't want to move to Android because they have so much invested in this Apple ecosystem, and that's been a popular topic, I think, over the last year and a half. People with the saying, they don't want to move to Android because they have such an investment in apps, and I think that really is true. But a lot of apps are free on the Android and a lot are free on the iPhone as well. But I think people are really, when we start looking at companies like Roku, we start let's even just bring up Amazon before we even talk about the Roku. We'll talk about Amazon. Amazon, everything, all their stuff is saved up in the cloud. So no matter what account as long as you have the password to your account, you can get access to your information. With Apple, it's a little different. You download it on your device, or and you watch it from your computer on the Apple TV. It's Amazon's a different. Amazon Prime, you can watch streaming right on their website, or if you have a Roku or any device that supports Amazon Prime, you can go ahead and just just watch it with Amazon. It's a different business model, and even Google, the same thing. It's a different business model than Apple. They're definitely a different thing. I'm even surprised the Apple TV even allows you to watch Netflix. So, that's just the way Apple's ecosystem is, and a lot of people have a lot of money invested in the iTunes and stuff like that. And that's kind of where, when you look at iTunes, when you compare it to Spotify or Google or Google's platform, it really is a different type of environment, different type of setup, and the whole thing of getting away from physical media, that's been a hard sell for a lot of people, talking about, well, get rid of physical media and just go to just go to the subscription based services, or the services where you buy something and then it sits out there in the cloud, and when you want to watch it, it's a different mindset. But I myself am a Spotify user. I've been a big supporter of them since their early days, and I probably should reach out to them for a sponsorship. If I never actually reached out to them for a sponsor, I should. I've been plugging their stuff for years now. But they're very very popular company, and they've made it where you can import your iTunes right into their app, and so is Google, to kind of pull people off that Apple ecosystem. And again, Apple not very huge in the whole cloud-based market. They believe you download your iTunes and they're yours, whereas Spotify and all that's DRM protected music and all that. So it's different mind frame, but definitely is when you look at the whole ecosystem itself, Apple really draws you in, a little bit differently. I personally myself like the whole subscription-based service piece, but and that's the other thing too. People are like, well, if you do subscription-based, like Spotify or Netflix or Amazon, you don't actually own the physical media, where with Apple you do. But again, it's we're getting away from that whole physical media stuff. I haven't bought a DVD in years. I know there's still plenty of reasons to buy DVDs, and I don't think DVDs or Blu-ray are going away anytime soon. But we're slowly starting to move away from a media-based environment, which is a little bit different than what the mindset was like even up to 10, even maybe, let's say not even 10 years ago, even say 5 years ago. So. Even look at look at the cell phone market. That was talking about even podcasts. A few years ago, the big thing was, well, podcasts weren't going to last that long because you had to deal with downloading the podcast, putting it on the device, and all that stuff. And even nowadays, you don't have to worry about that with your connection. You can just stream podcasts right off of Beyond Pod or iTunes. So even the whole thought of having a little computer in your pocket that has an internet connection. That's turned even podcasting into almost like its own type of radio, ecosystem itself. So it really is, really. When you look at even, I remember in 2008 when 2009 we were doing a different podcast. People said, "Well, podcasts are going to die. People don't want to waste time trying to sync it to their phone or their device." And I said, if only they had an internet connection, all the time. And now with the cell phone industry, they have it now. So that even brought a whole nother world to that, so it is kind of, and it's, and podcasting has become its own kind of, radio ecosystem in itself. So, it's pretty neat, but, and also too, because of the RSS, creation of, where you can actually subscribe to podcasts and stuff. RSS definitely made the podcast industry and even the blogging industry a lot more streamlined and mainstream than it ever was before. So, but the other thing is too, when you start talking about, even like the Roku, where the Roku, they're a third party making apps for Amazon and Google, Spotify, they're in the business of, okay, let's release our API that people make apps for our devices, whereas Apple controls that and doesn't let people make apps for their devices. So it moves a lot slower than like a Roku or even Google. Google, they're saying the Chromecast, they're going to release the API, and a lot of people are going to jump on board. So it is a totally different design, totally different ecosystem than than people are designed. Apple's a little bit different than Google and Roku. So so there's a little different. And the other thing too with Apple, people forget Apple's a hardware vendor, or Droid and Kindle. They don't make money on their devices. They sell the devices dirt cheap so that they could go ahead and and make money on you using their system. So you also too, talking about one of the things that was kind of neat too, talking about physical media, is people always say all the time. Now with Amazon or any places where you buy stuff, and even with Apple, you can't, you used to be able to loan a friend a DVD or a tape. You can't even do that anymore because of the way physical media has just has kind of gone away. I can't, unless you give somebody your what you're not supposed to do, unless you give somebody your password to your Amazon Prime account, or another, give them your password to some other media platform where you buy movies and music and stuff. You can't really share movies, and that was the whole point. That was the whole goal of going to this, was that people couldn't share media and all that type of stuff, and to limit piracy and all that. So I mean, it is neat when you really think about it, of how the industry's changed. By the way, too, they were talking about Apple, and I want to get into the iPad for just a minute here, but talking about Apple, there was a lot of rumors lately that Apple was going to go ahead and not upgrade the iPad till next year, but I believe that rumor has actually squashed on CNET the other day. I believe they are going to go ahead and they are going to do an iPad upgrade, and I think it is iPad mini upgrade. So I believe that's going to be, I don't know when yet, but it is. I've heard it is going to be this year, but again, that is a rumor, and I don't like the rumor mill, but I believe they are going to go ahead and update the iPad this year. So, but some other things too. Talking about iPads, kind of neat with the Android 4.3 upgrade that happened. Kind of neat. By the way, the other day the Motorola X was actually released. All the information. I'm not going to get into it this podcast because I don't have enough information about it yet, but I will. Maybe we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. But one of the things that is kind of neat when you look at the new Android 4.3, they actually allows for multi-user, which is great if you have kids or something like that, because each kid can have their own user account, save their own stuff, and all that. Whereas the iPad, it's one user only. So that's kind of a neat thing that's happening right now with the Android 4.3. Everybody can have their own. Their own user accounts. So that's definitely a huge thing. Definitely blows the iPad out of the water with that. And that's something I wouldn't be surprised if Apple does. I mean, their computers, their OS X allows it. I'm really be very, very surprised if their iPads don't allow it very soon. You probably all have to have your own Apple ID, but as far as that goes, that is kind of neat. And I'm sure that's a really big thing for Android, and I'm sure Apple will adopt it eventually. Some other things too going on in tech that I just wanted to briefly touch on. Obviously, companies, by the way, talking to companies like WebSense and talking to companies like that, they actually have gotten away from actually selling appliances, and now they just sell the VMs. I mean, you still can get appliances, most of these companies, but I know a lot of these companies want to get away from actually physically selling the appliance and actually just go ahead and sell the VM so that you have to support the hardware and their company doesn't have to deal with it. A lot of companies go in that direction, and I think it's kind of a cool concept, I guess, and with the way hardware is nowadays, you can most people have VM clusters, and people just, will buy the VM and throw the VM into a cluster, and that's it. The companies will sell you the VM, but they won't sell you the hardware anymore. Definitely, again, talking about how things have changed, I remember maybe 10 years ago, everybody's like, oh, they're going from, putting everything on a computer to going to an appliance-based, which an appliance-based system is really, really cool. It definitely was better. I like to buy appliances, especially when talking about content filtering and stuff. You just buy the appliance. Even with bring your own device, people are buying their own appliances. But now, now you can just purchase the VM, throw the VM into, and go, that way. I know a lot of companies like Backtrack and, a lot of companies like that just give you the VM, and then you just go ahead and you just use VMware Player and just load the VM that way, which is really cool. And a lot of companies are going to that, and VMs are it's pretty cool. You can just buy a VM now rather than just buying a whole appliance. So it is kind of neat, and it's definitely something that's something that is a big game changer in the industry. Something that is definitely different, but kind of a neat thing. So it's really neat to see how these companies are going with are kind of trying to get away from the appliance. Whereas 5 years ago everything was let's get it on an appliance. Our company owns the software, owns the hardware, but now they rather just give you the VM and let the companies just take care of the hardware. So it definitely is kind of a neat change in the industry. So in the world of tech this week, a lot of stuff going on in the news. We're going to jump over to the news here for a few minutes here, like we always do every single week on the podcast. Let's see. As far as news goes, some interesting stuff with the Wii, which I know we don't cover really gaming too much on the website or on the podcast, but I figured I'd talk about the Wii here for a minute. Apparently, the regular Wii is outselling the Wii U. Only 160,000 units shipped last quarter. Definitely not as much as they expected. I believe they were saying that software sales for the system were just a little bit under 1.3 million units. So, during the period, Nintendo sold 90,000 Wii U consoles in Japan and 60,000 in the U.S. and 10,000 in Europe. So, not selling as well as they hoped. They're blaming a lot of it is being blamed on the lack of first-party support for the poor performance. But again, the past that's over the past 3 months or so. I mean, the console was selling pretty good there for a while. So interesting to see what's going to happen with that. Obviously, Nintendo's had their struggles over the years. Speaking of struggles, a lot going on in the world of Microsoft this week. Obviously, Microsoft talking about first of all losing major support from Asus. Asus saying that they're pulling out, that it's not cost effective for them to go ahead and support the Surface anymore. Not worth making hardware for it anymore. Which is, that's a huge hit for a company like Microsoft when major hardware vendors are pulling out. The only one that I believe is still making them anymore. I believe the Surface RTs is, or even working with Windows RT anymore, is Dell. And as long as Michael Dell wants to take that company private, and he's getting that $2 billion loan from Microsoft, he's not going to stop making. Definitely not going to stop making. The Surface RTs. He wouldn't do something like that. So that's definitely something different. But apparently, Asus's John Shear has made some crazy bets over the years, and he definitely so far he's been saying that when you look at actually how they're building products on the RT and just not buying it, so they're not going to bother. They're not going to bother selling Windows RT devices anymore. So that's a huge thing for them. As Microsoft very struggling with the Surface, and now of course losing a major hardware vendor for their RT stuff is definitely Microsoft's going to have to really think about what they're going to do if they're going to survive. Microsoft. Earlier, estimates put the Surface sales at around 1.5 million units, only 853 million made so far. It just isn't selling well. It started off slow, and then people said, it'll get better, but it doesn't seem to be getting better. And with Asus, pulling out now, it's just making it worse on Microsoft. And that product just really. I mean, even when you watch, they have advertisements and all that for it, which look really really cool. But it just isn't selling. So, which we all kind of figured that was going to happen. So, but like I said, with Asus out now, Microsoft only earned $850 million from sales of the Surface tablet. They're declaring a pretty huge loss on this product. It's only selling 1.5 million units, where Apple sells 14.6 million units in the same. That's a huge. I mean, that's little to no market share. So, I'll be curious to see what they do and what Microsoft's going to do. They're going to have to really redesign Microsoft and the actual software, and really redesign the hardware, and find out what they're going to do if they're going to survive into the later years, because right now they're not doing so great. Some other stuff as far as companies go and all that. Obviously, Amazon, opening up their warehouse, more warehouses. Apparently, they're going to have thousands of more jobs, and obviously, they're getting praise from our president, which really is great that they can open up more of these distribution centers to give more American workers jobs. They are paying people, $10.50 to $11.50 an hour, which is a decent pay when you look at minimum wage is like $8 an hour. But they're definitely, employing a lot more people. And, I know there's been some controversy over the warehouses, but point in case, they are employing American workers and giving American workers a lot of jobs. And I believe they're going to be employing somewhere, I believe, in the 5,000 to 10,000 people. So we're glad they are giving out jobs to American people, and more of that needs to happen if, this economy is going to bounce back, which according to the numbers as of last week, jobs have definitely, the jobs came, we're definitely, more jobs are getting out there, more people are working, less people are on unemployment. So it is showing a slow slow turnover in the economy. But I think, real estate's starting to pick up now and stuff. So I think, the economy is starting to turn over. It's just a little, it's steamrolling, but it's steamrolling slow. But glad to see people getting back to work, and more people getting back to their lives, and getting back to the way things used to be. So good for them, and anybody out there who's still looking for a job, we wish you the best of luck. Another thing too, Farmville, Zynga definitely hurting as far as a game vendor. Definitely struggling. They're not the number one. Zynga's not number one anymore. Obviously, Candy Crush has taken them as the number one. Obviously, Facebook rolling out a new pilot program for small and medium-sized game developers. A couple of years ago when Zynga, lost their exclusivity with Facebook, I knew that something like this was going to happen, and it did. So, Farmville and all that, definitely, they're not the number one games anymore. Candy Crush is number one right now. They 800 million, Facebook has over 800 million monthly, mobile users and stuff like that. So the mobile game market is definitely booming right now, and Zynga suffering quite well. They just got a new CEO and all that, and we're hoping he can turn things around, because the game company definitely in a lot of trouble, and they really need to do something to turn it around. Unfortunately, like I said, I hate to see companies suffer, but Zynga really, their last CEO made a lot of big mistakes, and it's costing them now. And shares of stock around 10, 11, I think, somewhere. Don't quote me on that number. It could be around between $10 and $13 a share, which is definitely not as good as it could be. So, Microsoft obviously debuting Office mobile apps for the Android smartphone. We knew that was coming. The same, pretty much the same version of the software as as what's on the iPhone itself, but a little more stripped down version of it. So I'm sure the Android tablet is coming, but it's just going to take some time. So when it comes to really when you look at Microsoft Office, that's a product that Microsoft always wins on, because everybody wants it on every platform. In my opinion, I know they say Windows has always been their flagship software, and it has proven, numbers prove that it is their flagship software, but in my opinion right now, Office is really their flagship software. But they're definitely definitely, a little more stripped. Definitely Office for the Android or for the iPhone has always been a little more stripped down than the one for the the iPad. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Office apps up to 5 devices such as PCs, Macs, and smartphones. There is still no support for the Android tablets or the Apple iPad. So Office 365, there still is no support for the Android tablets or the iPads. I'm sorry, I thought there was. The same that I pulled up the article. But obviously them bringing Word, Excel, and PowerPoint to the Android mobile devices. But you have to wonder if there's really a need for it. There probably is, but you wonder with Google Docs, if there's really a need for it. But obviously that's, they made that decision, and I'm sure there's some people out there that were waiting for Office on the Android. So good for them. Some other things, too, as far as the business news goes. Microsoft has to relinquish the SkyDrive brand. The only reason is the software giant has to rebrand it, pretty much because cloud storage service. They apparently there's a British company called Sky Broadcasting Group, and they own the rights to anything with the name Sky. So Microsoft has to rename all their stuff that says SkyDrive on it. So that is kind of a funny article. You would think Microsoft would have really looked in, a big company like Microsoft would have looked into that name before they went ahead and used it, but I guess not. So I find that kind of a funny story. I mean, I feel bad for Microsoft. I mean, the money they're going to have to spend to do that, but I mean, that's really their own fault. So. But that was there. Some other interesting stuff going on as we roll through the news here today. Obviously, Google, AT&T is out, and Google's going to be the new Wi-Fi in all Starbucks. Obviously, big thing for Google, winning that contract. Lots of Starbucks in the world. Starbucks is a very stable company, very strong company, and a lot of people go in there just to get a cup of coffee and use wireless. So big thing for AT&T and to lose them, and a big gain for Google. So the coffee chain obviously they opted to use Google's Wi-Fi and give U.S. customers up to 10 times faster speeds than they were getting on AT&T. So I really think that that's a big thing for them. Currently, Starbucks stores are connected with a T1 line, 1.5 megabytes. With Google, they're going to have a level 3, and Google will upgrade the systems in every location and provide 10 times faster speed. So, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, for I understand, that why Starbucks did that, and I would have done the same things if I was Starbucks as well. But obviously, they're going to have to. It's going to take over the next few months. Starbucks is they're going to have to roll it out to over 7,000 stores in the U.S. So. It's going to take them a while to roll it out, but they expect that all locations will be done in about 18 months. So that's really big, big news for them, and good for anybody that goes there. You're spending enough for a cup of coffee, so you should get the fastest internet you can get. Some other stuff as well. HP launching Android-based SlateBooks PCs. That was, of course, recently announced. Kind of a neat piece of hardware. Not sure how it's going to take off, but the SlateBook X2, Hewlett Packard's, it's more. It basically looks like it's more for a convertible market. The tablet's a hybrid. It looks pretty cool. It's expected to be, they're saying it's going to. It launched in Japan on Monday. It's going to launch in Japan tomorrow. Excuse me. But it looks like it's going to arrive early on. It's supposed to arrive, early in August. It's saying, but it already is early in August. So I'm not sure. Like the article's fairly new, but I'm trying to find some more information. I can't. Having a hard time finding information on this. SleepBook 10 is now available and shipping. Oh, it is available. It's shipping to customers right now. Okay, so all right, so that's pretty good. Obviously, like we talked about, HBO on going to the Chromecast. Pretty cool if you're a Game of Thrones fan. You can watch it just like you do now, watching it on Roku all the time. So that's kind of neat. Obviously, we already talked about that, but I just wanted to reiterate. A lot of people have been pushing because they want to watch it on Game of Thrones. So some other stuff going on in the news. Obviously, some interesting news, and I don't know if anybody's a real. I know myself. I have Sirius XM. I really like it, and I'm a big fan of late night radio and all that. And I'm a ham radio operator myself. But Art Bell, remember him off of Coast to Coast AM? He's going to Sirius XM. His new show is going to debut. We talked about it. It's up on the website, thetechnologygeeks.org. But we talked about that a little bit. He's going to have a new show called Art Bell's Black Matter. It's going to debut in September, mid-September. And it's a new show he's going to do, kind of a little more to do with UFOs and conspiracy and all that type of stuff. Same thing he did when he was on Coast to Coast AM, but he left Coast to Coast in 2002, and now he's back. So really like his show, big fan of his, and plus too, he's a ham. He's got his own little antenna farm outside his house in Nevada, which is where he'll be broadcasting from. So very cool. Really glad to see fellow ham back on the air, and really neat. He's not going to be competing with George Norrie because his show is going to be on a completely different channel, a completely different time. But very cool. He's getting back on the air, and great to see Art back at the radio again. So, former Mozilla CEO heading over to AVG. Kind of a neat thing that's going on right now. Definitely. Not sure exactly why Gary Kavis is leaving, but he wants to guide AVG now, and he'll be focused. He won't be focusing on Mozilla Firefox anymore. Firefox, obviously, Mozilla's coming out with a lot of stuff. Obviously, the Firefox phone, and they're working on some other projects as well. So it'll be neat to see, what he's going to be doing. See what he's going to do, but definitely, I'd like to see what if I hope this. Normally companies survive when their CEO leaves, but let's hope Mozilla stays in the path they're on, because they've been doing very, very, very well with their recent release of Firefox. Obviously, it's been Chrome's had a bit of a memory leak, and a lot of people going to Firefox because of it, and their Firefox platform on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and Android, and all that have been fantastic. So want to make sure they keep chugging along, but he'll be going over to AVG. But let's hope the company stays on the path they're on, which they probably should. So, some other news: Pinterest adding an animated pinning shortcut to the iOS app that was out this week. Some other stuff too coming out about Foursquared. That was kind of interesting news this week, and I thought I'd just talk about it. Foursquared, obviously. There's been some reports that Foursquare selling its location data through ad targeting firms that they partnered up with. Not really sure exactly where they're going with this. Foursquare is working with an ad tech company called Turn, and not to get too deep in it, but it basically allows advertisers to use this information to target ads to you. So they both declined comment on the situation right now. Apparently, some kind of partnership that's been going on between the two of them right now. Foursquare's audience and they are doing some advertising stuff to make some money because they have to. But apparently, Turn is they're also partnered with Facebook and stuff. So we're not really sure where this is going. But Foursquare has about 3.5 billion check-ins. They're saying, and about collects information from about more than 40,000. Information from it says right here that Foursquare also collects information from the more than 40,000 developers that have integrated Foursquare's location databases into their apps, including mobile services such as Evernote, Instagram, and Uber. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with this. They haven't released any information, nor are they taking comments right now, but we'll see what's going on with that. Some other stuff as well. Amazon, obviously, aiming their information more towards gearing their Amazon Prime stuff more towards kids. They released that there are going to be 5 new titles that are going to be aimed towards children. So that's more of them trying to take their stab at the younger generation and the younger market. So that was something too that came out this week. It looks like it's going to be something like Life on Normal Street, Grid Smasher, Hard Boiled, Eggheads, The Joe and BG Raff Show, and Wish Proof. So a couple of things. Going to try to aim it more towards kids and try to grab the younger audience, which is what Netflix has been doing recently with, of course, their addition to to their particular platform with a lot of the Cartoon Network shows and kids stuff and all that. And some other stuff, too, is kind of neat as well that I thought was kind of interesting, is that that Funimation has their own app now on Roku. I guess Funimation's trying to fire up their own. For those of you who don't know, Funimation is an anime company that brings Japanese. They brought over Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, all those good ones. But they're trying to come up with their own web-based app and to actually do streaming and all that, trying to create their own service, which is kind of cool if you think about it. Something that we've all been wanting for a while, and I think it's really neat. And they're trying to, that's what I'm saying. That with this whole Chromecast thing with the Roku, there's so many different streaming services out there right now, and the Roku and the Chromecast are going to allow you to pretty much pick what shows you want, get their apps, get that subscription for that particular app, and that's the way you're going to watch TV. I bet you 10 years that's the way everybody's going to watch TV. You're going to pick what you want to watch, and you're going to watch it instantly. That's just the future of televisions, though. But to see Funimation spring up now, that just proves my point. Some other stuff, I guess, going on as far as the military, the gentleman from that gentleman that leaked all that information to WikiLeaks. His sentencing was this week as well. That was information that came out. By the way, Zynga actually. So I missed this. We forgot to talk about this, but I did have this on the list of things to talk about on the run sheet. Zynga obviously losing 3 top executives this month. A trio of the vice presidents have resigned from the struggling social gaming platform. Sources were telling that was on Bloomberg, by the way. Top 3 executives reporting leave Zynga, and I believe one of them is going to a different game company. I think one might be going to Google. Actually, I'm sorry, excuse me. Don Matrick is going to Xbox, and I believe that's the only one that we've heard is leaving right now. But I believe, like I said, a lot of them are jumping ship. They've lost actually 3 big top executives, and Zynga reportedly declaring, second quarter revenue and booking continues to lose users. The company reported 39 million daily active users for the second quarter, which is down 45% from last year at the same time. So, they're down like 39%, which is like over 187 million. So, definitely something that's, they're definitely do something. And by the way, too, just from doing some more searches while I'm talking here, apparently one of the other executives is going over to Disney Interactive. So we'll see what happens with that. Apparently, there was an article that was kind of neat that came out the other day about Netflix, and apparently Netflix subscribers still watch as much television as anybody else. As a streaming video site ramps up more original series, a study by TiVo's research found that there's no significant difference in the amount of TV watched by people who subscribe to Netflix. So if you're subscribing to Netflix, you're still watching the same amount of still TiVoing the same amount of. If you're TiVoing stuff, you're still watching stuff on the same amount of shows on Netflix. So whether you have a TiVo or whether you're just if you have a TiVo and you have Netflix, you watch the same amount whether you don't have a TiVo. I don't know exactly how they figure that data out, but that's what they're saying. So saying you watch just as much TV, people that subscribe watch just as much TV. So that's pretty neat. So just because you subscribe to Netflix doesn't mean you watch less TV. So that's pretty cool to find that out. Obviously, Michael Dell still saying the company, he's going to take the company, going to take Dell private. He told the Wall Street Journal he would support the company and take it private again. Obviously Dell's still struggling very well, trying to take it private. The buyback 1.1 billion shares at $14 per share. Obviously, he's getting quite a big loan from Microsoft to do this, but apparently he's still struggling with taking the company private. So we'll see what happens with that. Some other stuff too. Adobe buying more stuff. Adobe buys satellite from Tag Management Technology, makes deeper move into marketing and ad tech. So I'm guessing that. So I guess Adobe trying to make a deeper move into the ad space. Not really their market, but, I guess they're doing what they can to go ahead and try to get some different markets. Some other stuff too. Cisco acquiring SourceFire for $2.7 billion. That's incredible, by the way. I didn't even know that site was worth that much, but apparently it is. They paid $76 per share in cash in exchange for share of SourceFire and assume outstanding control of it. $2.7 billion, which is pretty amazing. Cisco included SourceFire into its guidance going forward. Cisco and SourceFire will continue to operate as separate commodities, but apparently Cisco purchased them, so that's pretty neat. I didn't think Cisco was in that type of business, but apparently they are. There apparently is another iPad vulnerability with malicious chargers. This was kind of a neat article. It just came out actually at Black Hat the other day, and kind of shocked. I wasn't even aware you could do something like that, but apparently that the way you can actually use a malicious charger to actually go ahead and gain. What you can do is you would actually, what this does, it would actually delete an app like Facebook and then put a malicious app there. When you open it, it would send information back in when you plug the charger, and it actually runs a script that actually does that on the phone. So kind of something different that we see at Black Hat. We always see interesting stuff, and Black Hat's always a big eye opener for everybody, but that was out the other day. Talking about security, Google starts upgrading its SSL certificates to 20 by 48. So they're moving right ahead, and Google is somebody that obviously, with everything being web-based, has to keep up on their certificates now. So it is going to an SSL 20 by 48p encryption to beef up its security, which included root certificates that the company has, and as well as everything else. And the process should be done by the end of 2013. So kind of makes me feel a little safer about using Gmail. Some other stuff too, FreeBSD and Ubuntu offering the same NVIDIA OpenGL support as Windows does, so that's kind of a neat thing. And moving right along with the FreeBSD and Ubuntu moving right along in the world of support. So now it's time for our question and Q&A session here on the Technology Geek Show. People go ahead and send in their correct questions, and I answer them right here on the podcast. I also answer them back. And by the way, you can send me any questions on our Twitter at LaPantyTech, hashtag AskTechGeek, AskTechGeek. So it's really really kind of a neat thing. I really like to put it up on Twitter, because we were doing the email. People email me the questions and all that, but I really enjoy doing it up on Twitter. It makes it more interactive, and it really gets kind of really neat, because I've actually had I can answer a lot. Almost. I've been doing tech for 10 years now, and I'm not just a tech journalist. I'm actually a real true tech guy. I went to college for computers and all that type of stuff and information systems. But it's kind of neat when you're doing it up there. I might have one free app that I might like, but there might be another free app that might be better. Not so much better, but may have a little bit more targeted features or somebody might want or something like that. So it actually is, actually really neat to have. And the social media aspect of it is so much great. We get a lot of feedback from our listeners and all that type of stuff. So I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the interactive piece and getting to interact with the listeners. And that's kind of why we're doing it on Twitter now. So the first question, actually, that was really cool, was I got a question from somebody. How do I disable Java on all my browsers all at once? Obviously, Java has been the bane of any security or any administrator's existence because of how insecure Java is. But if you actually go into the Java control panel, and on Windows 7 you're going to go Start Control Panel, or on the Mac OS you're going to go to System Preferences and Control Panel, and you'll see under the Security tab in the Java control panel, uncheck the box that reads Enable Java Content in the browser, and click OK, and that should disable all your Java plugins, or not disable all your Java. That's just disable Java on all your browsers all at once, and that's what I would do. And that was a good question, actually. It was something I actually looked up. Another question is somebody also sent us is what free antivirus should I use on my Android phone? Android virus that's always running is going to just kill your battery. I like Lockout. You can get it on the Play Store. It's actually a really cool app that I really enjoy. It's not so much an antivirus that it does. It checks when you download or install apps. It checks it against their database and says, yes, this is a good app. No, this is a bad app. It's not so much an antivirus as it is something that really just keeps an eye on your just keeps an eye on what apps. You don't want an antivirus that's running all the time because it'll drain your battery. But with this, it just checks it against its databases. So it is really neat, and I really like it. And that's the one I use. I have it on my phone right now. Some other question is, what is my battery? Why is my battery life so bad on the Galaxy S3? You might want to download a product called GSAM. It's a free app on the Android. And monitor and see what is actually killing your battery. Android 4.3 is going to offer a fix that will group all apps that together and try to. Apparently, it's going to group the apps together in some way, and it's going to say it's going to group them together so they don't drain as much battery life. It's also going to group apps together that need updating. It's also going to allow. It's going to allow it's going to do it's going to change the way Facebook is operating. Facebook obviously kills your battery fairly quickly. Candy Crush does a good job of it. So you're going to want to download the GSAM battery app, and that'll go ahead and that should tell you what's killing your battery and give you a little bit better idea. And that's what I would use. But I like the way the Android 4.3 is going to actually offer a fix that will group all apps together that need to be updated. Because what happens is you put your phone down, go do something else, and your apps start updating, and that actually does take quite a bit of battery. What I like to do, at a nightly basis when I plug my phone in and I look for what apps need to be updated. I do it at night, so this way all the apps are updated before I take my phone off the charger. So. Another question we got about the Android phone is, how can I go ahead and root my Android phone? Depending on what type of phone you have, there are apps on the Play Store that'll actually root your phone for you. What I like to do, there's a website called xda-developers.com. Go there, and they actually have steps to follow for depending on what phone you have, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, whatever it is, but they actually have a process that you can actually go through and do that. So I would trust them. They're actually reputable. There are some apps on the Android store you can use too, but they're a little more risky. Really up to you. You can root the Android phone. There's nothing that says you can't do it, but just make sure you follow a good, solid procedure. Some other questions you have is, how can I partition my hard drive to keep Windows because I want to add Linux? Well, if you need to partition your drive, you don't have the recommended way to do it was create two partitions and partition. You have to put on Windows first and then put on Linux. Otherwise, the Windows will overwrite the grub. But if you're the way it sounds here is that you actually had your hard drive. The way this person actually had their hard drive already done, and they wanted to add Linux. What I would do personally, I would just use a VM for Linux. But if you don't want to do that, what you could actually do is you can actually use Partition Magic. It's not free; you have to pay for it. But you can actually partition the drive. You can actually use that software and partition the drive off, and you take a chunk of the drive, set it aside, and use it for Linux. You get Partition Magic, and you actually go ahead and just go ahead and just you can put it on a CD or a bootable or a jump drive or whatever, and you just partition the drive that way. That's what I would do. If I was me, I would just use Linux and a VM. But if you really want to use it on the drive in dual boot, you'd have to use Partition Magic if the drive's already set up from Windows. Or if you don't want to spend money, just go ahead and reformat the drive and partition the space and all that. The only thing bad about that is if you actually have the system recovery disk, if it's actually like a ghost image like Toshiba does, it'll actually make its own partition. So you might have to use Partition Magic. So, but the other question that somebody had is, last one too, by the way, how can I dual boot the Mac so I can have Mac and Windows together? What I would do, if you have a Mac, I would just say use VM. That's what I tell people all the time. But if you really want to have dual booting, you can use a program called Boot Camp. and that works very, very well. So I think that's going to be it for the week as far as the questions go. I want to thank everybody for listening again. This is, episode 21. I should have probably said that at the beginning of the podcast, but I didn't. Episode 21. And again, want to thank everybody for listening. And again, you can find us, all of our podcasts on our website, thetechnologygeek.org. And you can also, as well, follow me on Twitter at LaPandyTech, as well as you can follow us on Facebook and Google+. I want to thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you again next week, and we'll talk about whatever's new in tech and answer your questions. Thank you very much for listening.